So we're back.
We are. We made it.
We're just going to laugh the whole video as we remember being lost in the mountains for 12 hours.
I know. Stunning adventure. Stunning adventure.
The end, when we arrived in the village, was a space that I keep remembering when we didn't even know if we were back in our right village.
I know.
We didn't even know.
Fingers crossed.
We'd got into a car with a man who couldn't speak our language. Oh, no, we couldn't speak his language.
Actually, yeah, that's not the point.
We couldn't speak his language. In the mountains of Morocco,
Yeah.
a man who had been called by another man
On a motorcycle.
And we arrived in the village, didn't we? And I can remember saying to you, well, are we in the right village? Are we in the right village? I don't recognise this at all. I have no memory of this village. And then all those men were... Our driver started talking to all those men by the kind of hostelry, kind of pub sort of whatever place. And then there was...
We heard the name Jamal in all of this, blah, 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 didn't we?
We did. And we knew, because Jamal was the keeper of our inn, basically, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
And we heard the name Jamal and we were like... And, yeah, because they rang Jamal, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
They rang Jamal to say that we were safe, we imagined, not that we could understand the language.
We imagined, but also the following morning, when we met...
Karen and
Mark,
our friends at breakfast.
and we were the talk of the town.
And we were lost. We were lost in the mountains and everybody was very worried.
I know.
And then we were found.
We were, weren't we? Yes, we were. We were found.
And then there was much relief.
All round. And lots of food.
And it was fun, though. The thing is that I've written about it, haven't I? And
your blog went down a treat, didn't it?
my blog's been read by the world, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
And I wrote about it, and many people said, were we afraid? And actually, we weren't afraid.
No, we weren't afraid. It's very interesting, people's responses to your blog, but we weren't afraid. It was an adventure, wasn't it?
Actually, it was an adventure. The only time I have to say I was incredibly afraid was when we'd taken the wrong turning, because Anadi was the map reader.
Yeah, I accept responsibility.
Well, I suppose I didn't. I suppose I had to accept responsibility for taking none, for handing over map reading duties to Anadi James Taylor.
But you know, the road we missed because we were trying to avoid a bunch of not so friendly looking Moroccans. No, it's not that they weren't friendly.
I don't think they weren't friendly.
But we thought, I would just avoid that place, and we went shooting up that way, and that was the wrong turning, wasn't it?
I think we just didn't want to talk to anybody, did we?
I think
and there was
that's
a sort
more
of
to the
bunch of people sort of by a sort of cafe type place that would have been the route we were going. And because we were sort of on this mission, because our hotel was at 1,900 metres anyway, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So we were sort of high up anyway, and we'd wound our way up the mountain, and we'd got to Tizzy. And that was at what?
Was it Tizzy or Dizzy? No, it was Tizzy.
We were dizzy.
We were dizzy. No, it was Tizzy.
And that was, how high was that?
2,300 metres.
That's right. And that's where we drank mint tea.
Mint tea. And orange juice, is that right? We
Yes.
did, didn't we? Yeah.
And I bought a cobalt necklace.
Fantastic. Beautiful, beautiful necklace, yes.
And then they warned us of the height.
They said to us, when you get to another village called, I can't remember the name of it, Ikidi or something, that it was 3,000 metres.
That's right. And to kind of be easy.
Yeah, take it easy, yeah.
And we were quite gung-ho.
Little did we know. Oh, dear.
And I think when we reached the Moroccans that you said weren't friendly, I think that we just didn't feel like talking to anyone, did we? Because the thing with running, and we'd been running actually for probably a couple of hours, hadn't we?
And it was proper running as well. I mean, it was on the road.
Yeah.
But it's zigzagging up mountains and round mountains, wasn't it? So
yeah, and we were in our kind of space, and actually we didn't really want to engage with anybody.
Absolutely.
And I think that was what...
More to the...
Yeah, and that was what made us go on the wrong route. Because instead of going the route we were meant to go, which Abdul, who looked after us at the Imnal Lodge, he had given us this route, and he had given us the route which was sort of like that, wasn't it? Mm. And where we were meant to go like that, we'd gone like that.
I know.
And then we'd reached well over 3,000 metres. We must have when we were at the top.
Well over, because we came down to the village that was 3,000 metres, didn't we? When we came down that mountain, we followed that mountain path, and we were at 3,000 metres, so we were way above 3,000 metres.
And we did feel very dizzy.
And our fingers puffed.
Our fingers puffed.
That's always a sign of altitude.
And it was very steep, and there was a sheer drop.
Oh, it was.
I'd had my first a bit afraid bit, didn't I, when we were kind of going along that tiny little thin path with a kind of sheer drop to our left. And I felt a bit vertigo-ish. And then we decided, we had no watch, did we? We were a bit mad dogs and Englishmen, to be quite honest, because we had no compass, no GPS, no watch. And I would think that mountain rescue and all of that we'd have been irresponsible people.
That's right. We would have been, wouldn't we?
we
We
were.
You know what the funny thing is we both said, "Oh, I'm not going to take my phone." Back at him,
We did. We didn't take our phone. We didn't take a watch. We didn't take a compass. We didn't own one.
That's
we
right.
took a map reader.
We took a very bad map reader.
And I looked at the map before we left and kind of tried to do my O-level sort of contour lines on it, didn't I? And I said, I don't think we're going very high.
That's right. I remember that. Oh dear.
But then do you remember we ran out of water when we were up at the very top, and we realised we didn't know we'd gone wrong, did we?
No, at that point we didn't realise. It wasn't until we got back down to the village at 3,000 metres that we realised we'd only done that much of the leg rather than what we thought we'd done.
Well, I remember us having lunch, and we were still quite relaxed then. We'd probably only been out for about 3 hours, hadn't we?
We had, but lunch was gorgeous, right up in the mountains, wasn't it?
Oh, it was beautiful.
And we met the mountain goat man.
We did. That's right. We were eating our bread and cheese and apples and...
That's right.
Oh, no, it was tomatoes, wasn't it?
It was tomato, even though they looked like apples.
They looked like apples.
So
they were
big.
huge.
Yeah.
And then he came along. He sort of came over the top with his staff and his sort of long robes, and his goats were all jumping around, weren't they?
Amazingly,
Oh,
yes.
amazing. The way they do it, they're inspiring. And we were sitting having our picnic, and he sat on the rock, and I gave him some water.
That's right.
And he took an orange.
That's right.
And off he went.
We gave him, yeah.
And then we followed. And we were going up and up and up and up and up and up. And then we met him, didn't we, at the top?
We did. And he gave us some of his tea, didn't he?
Yes.
With honey.
Yes.
Which actually was a bit of a sugar rush for us, which we needed, I think.
I think we did. Little did we know that we were 3 hours in and we'd eaten all our food and we'd drunk all our water.
We had, hadn't we?
And we thought we weren't necessarily that far from home.
Oh, that's right.
And we were really high up, and I can remember standing on that ledge with him and sharing mint tea with him, looking out, and all the goats doing all their jumpy thing.
Absolutely.
And it was very steep, because then I remember not particularly liking the looking down thing.
It was very steep by then, and the path was also not very wide, was it? And you looked down, and it was a long way to,
Fall.
I didn't want to use that word, but you're right. It was a long way to fall.
And then we set off, and that was my very scared bit, wasn't it? When you'd seen the path where we were meant to go to.
Well, we ended up following the blue dots,
Oh, yes.
if you remember.
Yes, what do you think the blue dots meant? We're very much... This adventure entailed a few dots to follow.
It did, didn't it? Yeah. I think the blue dots mapped out a mountain walk for experienced mountaineers. Not us running types, you know what I mean?
Or people with vertigo. But then we decided not to go to the very, very, very top.
Because it just kept going up, didn't it?
And then you saw a path that we were meant to get to, which, for people who are quite happy to leap over shaly, rocky stuff with a sheer drop to their left, is completely fine. But it wasn't completely fine for me.
It wasn't, was it? No, you did have to sit with yourself for a bit, didn't you?
I was terrified. I was completely terrified. I do remember sitting on the rock or the mountainside with it all falling away beneath me, thousands of feet thousands of feet, hundreds of feet, I
Hundreds
presume,
of feet, yeah.
below me, and absolutely terrified and crying.
You did a little bit.
I did a little bit.
You did.
And then I got my act together, and I was going to inch my way down on, if you can call getting your act together, inching your way down on your bottom.
I know, your poor bottom, man. like a caterpillar sort of, like this down the mountain. Oh.
And then the goat man came.
He did. He was as agile as these goats, and he wasn't particularly a young man either, was he?
No, he wasn't.
He sort of hop, skipped and jumped across the mountain.
Because he'd seen that I was in trouble. Well, it wasn't difficult to tell I was in trouble.
Just scooting along on your bottom.
And he came skipping along, and he literally scooped me up, didn't he?
He did. He scooped you up and just started off down the mountains.
It was amazing. I was absolutely terrified. And you were leaping and jumping because you said it's like skiing.
Well, it was a bit like, because you know that if you put your foot at a certain angle, the shell's going to build up and you're going to slow down as if it's snow or like you're on skis, really.
Yeah.
So I was trying to stay below you just in case you fell. And you got your confidence with it.
I did. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I can remember he scooped me up, as he said, he leapt. And it was like I was flying.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. I said to you, didn't I? I said, I feel like I'm flying. And it was just amazing. And something shifted in me. Something completely left me. Because I've had a thing about going downhill fast on anything. My legs, a bike, even a car. Which obviously at the end of our adventure, when that man, the lovely man who rescued us, was taking us down the mountain, he was driving very fast. And I did feel a bit like on a helter-skelter. And I was like, ugh. But actually, I have had a lot of trouble with going downhill fast, or going down, steep down hills. It was amazing. It was like I flew, and something in me shifted. And actually, the rest of our journey, the rest of our adventure, I never felt the fear like that again.
No, you were like a little mountain goat. You were, because he took us down to a path, didn't he? And then we had to sort of traverse a bit. And there were other parts, not quite as steep as that, but there were other parts that were still steep.
Yeah.
And they weren't an issue at all, were they?
No, they weren't. They weren't actually. But what was amazing about our whole adventure, because by now we were obviously officially lost.
We were officially lost.
Because we were officially lost. We thought that was all part of our route. We somehow looked at this map and had decided that was our route somehow, didn't we? We somehow thought that was what Abdul had meant for us. But we were actually officially lost.
We were now, yeah.
And we were about 4 hours in, and we had no water. So that was when we started drinking from the streams.
That's right, mountain streams and springs.
Yeah.
That was lovely.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We filled our bottles up, didn't we? Which is just as well, because I think we got through probably 10 bottles of water.
Yes. What is that, 15 litres of water?
Yeah, we got through a lot, didn't we? Which was because it was hot, very hot.
It was hot, actually, and at altitude as well. I think you perspire more, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
But it was interesting because you made an observation, didn't you, up in the mountains, that now the mountains are within us.
Yes.
Because we drunk the water.
Yeah, it was. It was a lovely feeling.
It was.
There is something very, very amazing about the mountains, because there's absolutely no way you can beat them. If they're going to toss you off them, or you're going to, kind of lose your footing, it's your problem, really.
Absolutely.
And actually, there's massive respect for them, because there is no way that they're going to give you any slack or anything, are they?
Absolutely.
You have to respect them.
Exactly. It's like the ocean, isn't it?
Oh, it is like the ocean, yes.
It can be great fun, but at the same time...
Actually, that's interesting, because we were absolutely in the steppe, because even though it was an incredible adventure and it clearly went on for 12 hours, we were completely actually able to be exactly where we were, weren't we?
We were, weren't we? Absolutely.
And as a team.
We were, weren't we? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And even though some of the time we didn't know where we were, and it was apparent that we were a long way from home, and the hours went by, and the sun was coming down in the sky.
I know, that was the thing, wasn't it?
And because we came off the really steep bit, didn't we? And I had something shift, and I wasn't afraid anymore. But then we were running along that dusty path, and we got to that village when the little boys helped us.
Which village was that? Oh, that was... Yeah. Do you know what I was going to say? when we actually made it back onto the road that we can run, we emptied our shoes out.
Oh, we did.
And there was more shale coming out of my trainers than there were feet. It was just like, I didn't know you could fit that much in a trainer.
Yeah, that's true. And then we ran along that path, and it was...
It was a gorgeous run, wasn't it?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, stunning. And we got to that village that was at 3,000 metres.
So that was at 3,000 metres, that's right. So we'd been up in that kind of very steep bit, which was higher.
It was high,
And
yeah.
you're right, that was the village. And that was when the kind of elders of the village sent the 3 little boys with us
That's right.
to take us across the mountain that was going to take us back to Imlil.
Because they realised, well, we all realised that instead of doing that and being somewhere over here, we'd done that and we were here. So rather than finishing the loop, it was because the sun was going down and it was getting late in the afternoon. They said, oh, you can cut across. It's easy.
So adventure number 2, or kind of getting lost number 2,
Yeah, absolutely.
started to happen.
That's right.
I love those little boys though.
They were great, weren't they?
And because I had got this newfound mountain goat-like leaping quality about me, was able to keep up with them, thank goodness.
Through streams, up the sides of mountains, along tiny little paths with great big sheer drops by the side of them.
And one of those little boys, he had gumboots on.
He did,
With
didn't
his
he?
yellow t-shirt and gumboots,
That's
and he
right,
was
he
jumping everywhere.
He was, wasn't he?
And he was the leader of them, wasn't he?
He was. I think he was the eldest one, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think they're only sort of 8-ish, weren't they? Were they? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was a little bit older, 9
Yes,
or 10, but that's
yeah.
all he was, you know. It's funny.
It is, isn't it?
They were so adept, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. But they didn't really take us. They didn't really.
They took us to a point where we didn't know where we are and said, go that way. Thank you. And we won money.
That's right.
And dirhams, Bubba.
We gave them money, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah. £2 actually, wasn't it? 20 dirhams.
Oh, was it? Is that what it was? Yeah.
That's all right, you know.
And that's it. And then we were off the beaten track again. And we were up. Oh, it was beautiful.
But you know what? We climbed again, didn't we?
We did climb again.
It was stunning.
Yeah, it was stunning.
It was.
Absolutely. And we got to that point, and I'll never forget that point where we didn't know where to turn left or right.
That was one of those pivotal points in life, wasn't it?
It was, the 2 points on the road. We went the road less travelled.
Of course we did. It sounds, of course.
But that top, where we looked across, and there was that amazing plateau, which was the way...
That was stunning, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, and the way we were meant to have turned. It was stunning, wasn't it? Absolutely.
Absolutely. And do you know what I remember? I remember if you looked one way, there was this sort of more barren mountain scene, and then you looked the other way, and that was that plateau that was really lush and gorgeous. I mean, a long way off, but it was still stunning.
It was stunning. And we just kept... I think we'd run out of water again, but we then found them... We kept finding mountain streams.
We did, didn't we?
Because actually we were... The interesting thing to me is that we were really lost, but there was never any panic about being lost. I think at that point we turned right and followed the red dots. I saw red dots on the rocks.
You saw red dots and thought, there's a path. You did, yeah. And it was, you know, it's one of those decisions, wasn't it? Neither of us knew which way to go. It's as good a decision as any, really.
Well, it was. It was the... it interested me that following the red dots seemed so... I don't know. It seemed to be secure and safe, didn't it? Every time we saw a red dot on a rock, we were like, oh, another red dot. How brilliant is that? And actually, every red dot was taking us further away and further away.
And the enthusiasm we had, there's another red dot, yeah, that's great.
And I was so enthusiastic because it was very steep and rocky, and I was confident.
You were bouncing down.
I was newfound confidence. Anyway, we reached and we found that boy cutting all the grass down with his scythe, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
And again, finding him, we felt was a very good thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, he told us to go
back. You've gone the wrong way. Oh, no.
Actually, that was the point where you decided that we started up the mountain and it felt too dangerous. We were very spaced out, weren't we? We were very hungry.
We hadn't eaten for a long time.
And we'd covered many miles, and we'd been on the go, I would think, by then for 8 hours, had we?
Well, yeah, I think it was probably coming up. Yeah, that's probably about right. 6 o'clock in the evening, because the sun wasn't far away from setting over the top of the mountains.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember that you made a decision, which I adhered to, which you said we better get off onto the path, because if we're on the mountains and it gets dark,
we're just
We're
in
just
trouble.
sort of in trouble, yeah.
Yeah.
So then we kept following the red dots.
We did, didn't we?
Because they took us up to that little village.
That's right. Which was a clamber in itself.
Oh,
Those steps up to the village were like the Shaolin steps of China, weren't they?
they were amazing. And then the final kind of rock face bit. And I was carrying we took it in turns, didn't we, to carry the rucksack.
Yeah.
And I was having a rucksack turn. So I had some water in, because we'd gone down to putting just one of the bottles with water, so it wasn't too heavy.
Absolutely.
And I had the rucksack on, and then it was that kind of, we had to do kind of rock climbing.
It was proper. Yeah.
Proper.
You looked like a mountain lion clambering up there. It was great. It was really
I
good.
started to get used to being challenged to do things I didn't think I could do. And then we set off again down that path. And we'd kind of decided that we knew then we were in the wrong way, but we decided that even though we were supposed to have gone like that to get back to our village, we thought, well, we'll go around like that.
That's it.
And we weren't aware that we were probably 30 miles away. Because I think it was, because when we were rescued by the car from the moped man, it took us 50 minutes to drive back.
It did. Absolutely.
So we were a long way off, weren't we?
We were. And also, it was, once we followed that path down to that village, we got onto, which was actually, when I say that path, that road, we got onto a proper road where he was herring along.
Yeah, he was herring along.
So, I know he was, wasn't he? You know? So, you know, we were, I mean, it took actually 50 minutes to get to Imlil, and then there was a 10-minute journey up to where we were, wasn't it?
Yeah,
'Cause it took an hour in total.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it did.
Mm.
Because that final bit, when we'd arrived in Imlil and there would been all the chatter amongst the men and we'd heard the word Jamal. And obviously there was heralding that the mad English couple had returned and were safe.
That's right.
Then a whole host of men got into the car with us,
didn't they?
to kind of take us back.
I know.
As the sort of, party
That's
to
right.
deliver us to the door.
No, look who we found. It was a bit like that, wasn't it?
It was. And we were so dusty, weren't we? And actually tired. Very tired.
And Abdul had cooked up all that food for us. Oh.
I felt for Abdul. I have to say that was the one thing I had to keep working at, was Abdul, who was wonderful and looked after us at the Imlil Lodge. And we'd said we'd be back for dinner, hadn't we?
We had.
And we weren't.
I know. And the thing is, interestingly, that the village that we had to take these hardcore steps to get to and clamber like a mountain lion up to, once we got to that village and we were on the road, that's when Abdul kept popping into both of our consciousness, but especially yours, wasn't it? Because we knew the sun's going down. Yeah,
and he's going to worry. And actually he was. We only found that out because he was very welcoming and had cooked us supper at 11 at night. And
he looked so worried.
He did look worried. And we heard the next morning how worried
he was. Been. Absolutely. Oh, we didn't realise that night, did we?
I think we guessed.
We guessed his worry, but we didn't realise to the extent.
The extent that we were the talk of the town.
I know.
I think we didn't know that. And when we were on that road, and we thought, oh, phew, we're on that road, and we ran, and it was all windy, more down, and then we reached a place where there was no road. The
road had just collapsed, hadn't it? It just fallen down the mountain. It's like, oh no, where's the road gone? Oh man, you can't make this stuff up. Actually.
No, there was no road.
There's no road.
The sun's setting.
And the sun's going down over the valley.
There was always an angel.
There was always an angel.
We had 3 major angels. Well, we had lots of angels, but
actually we did.
But the major angels were the man who helped me down the mountain first. But then, when we reached the place with no road, there was just a man on the road.
There was, and he actually said to us, "There's no way you can get past there." And we're like, "Look, we've got to."
So we had started up the side of no road. So we'd started up the side of the mountain, and we're going to go down to meet the road, weren't we? And I'd got like about just off the floor really. And I just said to you, didn't I? I don't know if I can do this.
That's right, I remember.
And then he appeared. He ran. He just ran and ran and ran.
He did, didn't he?
And then he took my hand and ran, and he just pulled me up the mountain.
He did, didn't he? I was behind you catching all the shale. I was so grateful for him, man, because he really did. He just whooshed you up there again, didn't
And
it?
I was breathing. I was doing a lot of breathing.
That's right.
Because it was very frightening and actually dangerous.
Of course. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? If you slip in the wrong way and actually go off, it could
Yeah,
be
there's
very,
you're not going to not hurt yourself, are you?
That's right.
You're not going to not hurt yourself. And it was, I did a lot of breathing, and then we got to the top and thanked him because he'd taken us to the top, but then we had to go down. And he kept using, it was amazing actually, he kept using his gym shoes to kind of push the shell, a bit like you were doing, push it away, make a steady thing, safe thing, and then I put my foot on his foot.
I know.
It's amazing.
It was amazing. But they've grown up in the mountains,
Yes,
those
yeah,
guys,
they
haven't
have.
they?
They have.
And they know, for them it's like a walk to the superstore or the shop round the corner.
They've grown up in the mountains. And they know the mountains and they respect the mountains. And I wonder, I mean, what I found really, kind of, what I appreciated actually, was that on many levels you and me were completely mad.
We were, weren't we?
Completely
I
mad.
think we were a bit innocent with it actually.
Yeah.
We had
And
no idea. If we'd have taken my mobile phone and got GPS on it,
Yeah.
we could have got an app that had a compass and we could have got our bearings as to where we were, but of course we didn't.
We didn't, and I think that we were confident for some reason that the route that we had with Abdul, we thought, oh, we'll follow that. That looks
It was a
easy.
thick red line.
Yeah.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
We thought it'd be fine. However, because there we were, mad and out in the mountains, and with nothing much, no for water, no GPS, no nothing. We did have sun cream. I had taken sun cream.
You had taken sun cream.
But they were so still and so clear and with no judgment and no, what are you doing, you mad English people?
No. In fact, there was a lot of encouragement.
There was.
When the road ran out that put us onto the mountain path.
Yes.
There was a lot
of clapping.
And the little Moroccans running alongside us.
We did. We had 4 little boys, didn't we, running beside us. And
one of them was super little runner, wasn't he?
yeah, he was. And he strode along. So there was there was never judgment, and there was always appreciation, and there was always help.
Absolutely.
There was always connection and help, and it's like their spirits were clear and beautiful and connected.
Absolutely.
And then we reached that village, because we were really hungry.
We were, weren't we?
Like really, really,
By
like
now.
dizzy, hungry.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
no energy, hungry.
I know.
But we reached that village, and the shop was just closing.
Oh, that's right. We just caught, and the sun was going down, wasn't it?
Yes.
And because I don't know if you remember, but the light was starting to dim.
Well, I remember it being, my memory of that village is us in that very dizzy, very hungry, in that sort of passageway.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then the shop was there, and it feels to me like twilight.
Yeah, twilight. That's absolutely right. Yeah,
and we bought lots of biscuits and chocolate, and then said to the guy, "Is there a
taxi?
And he laughed.
He did. 10k. Is that what he said?
He said it was 10k.
10k that way.
That's right. And I was very kind of optimistic about that, with the sun dropping in the sky very rapidly, because it
What
does
was
go
it you
dark
said to
really
me?
quickly.
Classic. Oh, it's only 7 miles. Hang on a minute. You've just run the best part of 30. It's only 7 miles.
And then and then I made you run, because we were kind of walking a bit by then, weren't we?
We were walking
and
a little bit.
then it was kind of windy down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I said, well, we'll be quicker running.
Yeah, I remember. But you were right, actually, because we did that road so quickly, didn't we? That
We
winding
did.
road.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And then
We got to another point where the mountain had absolutely collapsed upon the road.
Yes, we did.
And there was another angel. He just came along, that guy, grabbed your hand and whooshed you up.
He did.
That was funny, that was.
He was very young.
He was very young. And all his mates clapped at the
Yes.
end. That's funny.
Yeah, he was very young, because I remember his hand was very sort of like a boy. Well, he was a boy.
He
in
was
a
a
way.
boy,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was a boy. And he wished me up the mountain. But we were very relaxed, because by now I do remember thinking at this point, the sun was going, the mountains were, I felt we were a long way, because actually I think when we were in that village, they said it was 14k, and then we went on a bit further, and those people by the roadside said 10k.
Ah, that's maybe what, yeah.
And I remember thinking, we are miles from anywhere, and there is no sign of a taxi. And we might be out here for the night.
I remember you, that's
Yeah.
right, that's right. We might actually, because it was now getting dark, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it was very quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
1 minute it's quite light, and the next it's dark. And I think I said to you then, well, if it's good stars and good moon, we'll be all right. Do you
Absolutely,
remember?
I do. Yeah. Because it lights the way, and those roads, they weren't roads. They're not like roads you get in London, were they?
No.
They were rocky.
Yes.
Passageways carved out of the. They were sandy. In places,
they were
weren't
sandy.
Yeah.
Because I can remember when the moped came by, and you stopped the moped.
Oh, that was amazing, wasn't it? I
There
don't
was
even know
nothing.
where that came from.
Well, there was nothing on the road, was there? There was
wasn't.
no people, no nothing. And this road was winding down, and then this moped kind of fut very slowly, but you stopped him.
I just said, "Excuse me, sir. Excuse me." Do you remember?
I do.
And he was putting on, and then he stopped. And I thought, well, my initial thought was, well, I wonder if he can give us a lift back to Imlil. Still not realising it was 50 minutes at least. You know what I mean? Funny, isn't it? Oh, bless him. He got on his mobile phone. He said,
he did.
Didn't he?
He did check we had money.
He did check we had money, didn't he?
Yeah, he did check we had money, because I think he phoned a friend.
It wasn't a taxi, was it?
No, he phoned a friend, checked we had money. We assured him we did.
Yes. Back at the hotel, we've got lots more than this. Yeah. That's right.
And then it suddenly got dark, just like that.
It did, didn't it?
And the three of us were by the road.
He had to switch his headlights on, didn't he?
Yeah,
It was
he did.
that dark.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, running on that road in that dark would have been
good.
It wouldn't have been good, would it?
No. And then we all clambered aboard. How did that happen? He just suggested it.
Well, he suggested that what we do is we go down to meet his friend in his car, which was funny actually, because his friend had nowhere to turn around because the road was no wider than
No, it wasn't.
one car's worth.
Yeah.
And he had to drive all the way back up anyway, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That was scary. Oh, that was so frightening. We got on the back, and I clung onto his waist, and you clung onto me. But it was slippy. It was all
because of
slippy.
all the rocks and
and he was going down, it kept slipping. And then also there was a sheer drop to the sort of left, wasn't there?
Well, was it to the left or was it to the right? Anyway, there was a sheer drop one way.
Yeah, there was one way. And I just closed my eyes.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, I just thought, I just have to close my eyes now. And trust that he's done this before with three people on. Because I think they probably all pile aboard, don't they?
They do, don't they? Yeah.
And then we saw the headlights.
And do you know what? That's right. We saw the headlights. That was the first relief for this. Like, oh man, there's hope. And do you know, for me, when we sat in that taxi, it's like there was a moment for me where I just thought, actually, I don't care if this guy knows where we're going or not. I'm just so glad to be sitting down in a car, man. You know? Funny.
It was amazing. And we couldn't. The thing is that in Marrakesh and they all spoke French.
They did.
But actually where we were, Abdul and Jamal spoke some English.
They did, yeah.
But actually there wasn't a common language. So we just all we kept saying to the guy was Imlil.
That's right.
It was our only word.
I know.
And he went like a helter-skelter down the mountain. I've never driven so fast down a mountain. Once we hit the road, I mean, he was quite speedy down the sandy track.
He was.
Then he hit the road, and then there was this helter-skelter drive. But actually, it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun, wasn't it? But the thing with it is because it was in the dark, he knew the roads and we didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the thing for us, where every now and then there was a little bit of a...
and sometimes it was sort of on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we got back to the Imlil village, and that's where we heard them saying the word Jamal.
That's right, we did, didn't we? Jamal. And it was like, oh, we're in the right place. Yes, Jamal. You remember that? Yeah.
And what's interesting for me is that when we got back, I've got a kind of space where I don't really remember. We arrived home and then we had a bath and then went and had supper, but I haven't got much memory of that bit, that after we'd been rescued. It's all a bit of a altered state.
It was you that ran the bath, and what's interesting is the bath water when we got out. It was like cement. No, it wasn't that bad.
Was that when you said you saw me washing my hair? No, you washed your hair in mud.
Yeah, but when you washed your hair, you could see all the dust coming out of it. Yeah.
That's it. I washed my hair and you saw all this dust.
That's right. It was. It just came out, but it's not surprising, is it? You know, we've just done 11 hours running and clambering up mountains and stuff, and then an hour back in a car. So you know.
I tell you what, though, I wouldn't have changed any of it.
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
It was amazing.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It was brilliant. And that food that Abdul cooked, which was cold in the kitchen when we get back, because that was the first thing we checked, is there any food?
Yeah.
You remember, because we were so hungry, weren't
We were.
And Abdul, bless his heart, he came back and warmed it all up for us, didn't he?
Yes, 11 at night.
At 11 o'clock at night. Oh, it was fantastic. But you're right, with the whole adventure, I wouldn't change a thing. It was brilliant.
Amazing.
It was brilliant.
Those mountains, those views, that energy, those people are angels.
They are. And I think, you know, we saw Morocco and we met the Moroccans.
Yeah, we did. We did. We saw Morocco. The Atlas Mountains.
We did, didn't we? It's fantastic, yeah. Brilliant. What an amazing adventure, really.
What an amazing adventure.